There it is. There it is. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, welcome. Welcome to the party. Told you I'd be back to doing more of these because it was fun to live stream the first time, so hey. I will say, unfortunately, for anyone who is looking forward to seeing me shade the rest of this character on the screen, I did go ahead and do it off stream just because there wasn't really much else to do. So I just felt like I'd get it done so I could send it to the person I wanted to send it to that night. So I'm sorry for anyone who wanted to see the rest of that process, but I did do it off stream. But I have plenty of other characters I need to work on, if you can't tell by the other groups sitting down here below it. So, yeah, so sorry you can't see the rest of this piece shaded, but yeah, you did miss too much, though. Just waiting a second for some people to get in here if they want to. How you guys doing? I'm out of school now. Yay! So. Oh Lord, sorry. So once again, if for some reason the stream abruptly ends or something, or just something happens and the stream just ends out of nowhere, just know that it's probably just because the app I used to stream on my iPad probably crashed or something like that. So if that happens, just so you know, it was the app that crashed or something like that. So yeah, just letting you know at the beginning here. And of course, this is going to be just another art stream where I'm just working on stuff, and people are free to ask me things if they want to ask me things or whatever. So yeah. I guess we'll get started. So I have, again, for nobody who saw the one before, I'm drawing just some general gifts for friends and or mutuals. Since some people, we watch each other and we will comment on each other's stuff, but I don't think they would consider me a friend. So, you know, friends and mutuals. So I have two of them done. I have this lovely, I believe they said it's pronounced Tuam is the species it is, and then we have this character Phoebe that I did a few days ago. So I have some others here that are sketched but not yet lined or colored. So I have one for Airfex Dracona. I have one for Hazia. I have one for my lovely wife, Quantablos. I have one for Twisted Disaster. I have one for a username Bubabu on DA. One for Pencil Tree. And one for... Oh my god, why? Glamist. Haha, I got it. I didn't brain fart this time. So yeah, if anyone wants to help me pick which one to do next, feel free to cast your votes. We have a robot girl. We have a zombie girl with skeleton hands. We have a babe, TM. We have a sweet succubi. We have a very serious looking Dr. Man. We have a very expressive circus lady, and we have a murderer dude with a mask. So feel free to choose. Skeleton hands. Second one's skeleton hands, robot girl. Aerofx's murder dude. Dr. Man. Skeleton hands, babe. The one with the mask. Oh, it's very divided right now. Alright, well, I guess I'm seeing a lot more. I think the most would probably be for skeleton hands. So we'll do skeleton hands. Yay! Let me figure out how I want to position this. I probably don't need the rest, because now I've drawn her hands, so I don't need that little reference right there. So I guess I'll put this right here in the corner. And we'll just erase some of this so I have some space. And I'll move her just over here real quick. Alright, let's get lining. And again, you can feel free to ask me whatever you want or anything like that while I'm working. I can try and multitask and all that good stuff, so if you have any burning questions or something, feel free. We're gonna go straight in for the skeleton hands, because skeleton hands are fun. I love when I draw characters like this that have, like, usually some kind of odd, unusual trait like this that is usually hidden. I like finding ways where I can show it off, because they're usually very fun to draw. Especially when it comes to things that are like zombie or skeleton characters or whatever it is. And again, this character belongs to Hazia on DA, so please go check them out. How are you drawing those drills? I struggle with them a lot. Hang on, I'll help you out. Or I'll show you how I usually go about doing drills, because I understand why it's actually hard for people. It is sometimes, even for me, when I have to, like, sit there and process it for a minute, because that sort of stuff can be a little bit weird to wrap your head around. Let me just do this finger, and then I'll do something for you. Bloop, bloop. Okay, so usually with, like, drills like this, honestly, the best way I can say to help it is if you kind of build it up a little bit piece by piece, rather than going straight in for the, like, drawing the curls, because that's usually where people go wrong, is they go straight into trying to draw the curls, and then they get all over the place, and you have no idea what they're doing. So the first thing I would say is figure out where it's going. Like, find either a line or even, like, a shape or something you can follow. So, for example, if you want to draw drills like this that don't really have any gaps in them, it's different if you want to draw more spirally stuff, in which case I would say starting with, like, a squiggle or something would help more. But if you want to draw like like a tight drill, kind of like this, I would say start by drawing like a general shape, like where the hair is going, like where it is flowing to. And then you go through and you just kind of think about it like it's a spiral going around it. And it is hair. Hair is organic and it is not usually uniform unless you style it for hours and hours and hours on hand. So when you're doing drills, don't worry too much about like making everything equally spaced and everything, because hair doesn't usually look like that. And at one point you're going to probably have it break off and curl around into something like this, you know. So you just kind of work it all up until it's over to the top, and then there you go. You got a really quick little drill right there, and you have it for that. If you want to do something that has more gaps and is more like a curl, then I would suggest starting with kind of a squiggly line wherever you want it to be, and then you kind of just fill in the blanks based on that. Usually it's usually pretty helpful to have kind of like two lines that you're working with here. It can get a little bit confusing if you're not careful, but usually if you have two of that, you can make a pretty good, like, that one's kind of flat, but you know, basic idea for curls. So I hope that helped a little bit. Drills are usually, like, when it comes to most hair things, it's usually best to start with some pretty basic shapes and then build on top of those shapes. So yeah, back to my line art. When was your last day or school? My last day was yesterday, so I'm free. Are you using Procreate? I am. This is in fact Procreate. My app of choice. I was watching one of your old videos, and are you still doing the Steven Universe? No, I'm not. We're pretty much done with that at this point. Do you accept gifts? Of course I accept gifts. I always accept gifts. Is Procreate free? No, it is not. It costs money, so I would not worry about getting it unless you know you want to do art for sure. Do you like The Office? I've never seen a single episode of it, honestly. I don't think it's something I wouldn't enjoy. I've never actually sat down and watched it. That one's just a little bit too wide. Procreate is one of the best art programs from what I hear. It honestly is. In my opinion, it is. I'm sure there's some people out there who don't like it, but in my opinion, it's really good. And they've been making a lot of really good updates to it. Honestly, personal opinion, I love Procreate about 50 times more than I do the most current version of Photoshop. And stuff like that. It's got a lot of tools and all that sort of stuff. So in my opinion, it definitely is, and I do think it is worth the money if you want to do art things. I just think if you've never done digital art before, there are better ones that are free you can invest in first, because it is like about, I don't know how much it is now, but it, like, when I got it, it was over $10, so you know, which isn't that bad for an app, but you know, still. There's other free ones you can get if you're not sure if you want to do digital art or not. Oof, and I got it was like 4 years. Yeah, I think I just don't know how much it is because I got it a while back, and I don't know if with all the updates they've been making, if it's still the same price. So I would have a feeling it's a bit pricier now because it's more a little bit more in demand. It has a lot more features to it. Skeleton hands. Skeleton hands. What got you into drawing? I've just always enjoyed doing it, you know? I didn't really get super serious until about middle school when I was seeing like some stuff online. Like I'd see a lot of artists online, most specifically River Spirit, because I was like, oh, look, that looks like fun. I can get popular doing that. So that's what kind of got me more serious into it, and it all just kind of evolved from there. I've changed a lot from middle school, but I've always just enjoyed drawing and stuff like that. It's always just been something I've liked doing. It's a lot more accessible than most computer programs. Yeah. Is it okay if I make you something? Yeah, that's fine. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know why a lot of people like. I don't know why I've gotten it before where people have asked me like, "Hey, can I make you something?" Like the answer is pretty much always gonna be like yes most of the time, unless it's like something I don't know like weird and pornographic, I guess. But like, I mean, honestly, I like gifs and fan art. It's all totally good with me. So. But I struggle with the ends of the hair, like when the lines meet, when the drawing animate hair, the strands always look too thick at the ends. Well, that's a stylistic choice usually, and it looks actually fine. Like having the lines at the end of the hair be thicker than the rest of the hair is a pretty common stylistic choice, and it can work perfectly fine. These bones don't look like the other bones, and I don't like that. There's not really anything wrong with that. The only thing I would say is just that if you like, if you don't like having it be thicker than the rest of the hair, then my suggestion would just be to make sure that like, you know, when you're drawing it, make the lines at the ends thinner than the rest of the hair if you want to do that. If you that is if you don't want it to be, but there is technically anything wrong with having the ends of the hair be thicker because that's typically it's a pretty common like cartoon style choice, you know, to have those sharp ends. How is 7 Seasons Baby coming along at the moment? It's happening very slowly. I'm still working on it. I'm just like I'm so focused on so many other things right now. Yeah, that's the only reason I'm not like posting things. I'm hoping that once summer, like it really gets into summer and I'm done with like May and some other things I have to do, I'm gonna try and hunker down and really focus on making the rest of chapter 1 so I can actually start posting it, because I do feel bad about not having like updated it in such a long time. Adjust myself a little bit here. How long is the stream gonna be? I don't know, as long as I feel like it being, or until my until Mob Crush crashes. How are you on this fine day, Zodiac? I'm feeling good. Feeling pretty chill. Don't have any school today. It's pretty great. gonna go have dinner with a few of my friends later. It'll be a good time. Do you like listening to music when you draw? Do you prefer to have no distractions? I usually, I almost always am listening to something when I draw, with the exception for streams, just because I don't want to, like, have to talk over something or have copyright strikes or anything like that. But usually when I draw, I'm really weird because I rarely ever just listen to music when I stream. Or not when I stream, when I draw. It's usually always like YouTube videos and things like that. And sometimes what kind of YouTube videos often varies, but like I'm usually not listening to music. I'm listening to like to different kinds of YouTube videos and stuff like that. Do you have an Instagram? I do, but I do not use it, so there's not really much of a point in following me on Instagram, unless you want to tag me in something, I guess. But yeah, I do have an Instagram. I just don't use it because I don't really like Instagram at this point. See the lines in the style I want to go. I love this style so much, and I just get frustrated with my friend. My fan character doesn't look like it would fit in the world. Well, that's just practice, really. You know, just like mimicking styles is its own kind of skill, to be able to do it to a T. You know, and also just you gotta not be afraid too, is just to have things in your own style as well. Because if you aren't trying to mimic a style, or it's like something doesn't look right to you or something, then it's, you know, it's up to you to want to change it or whatever. So do you listen to podcasts? I don't really listen to podcasts. About the Heavens proxies, is the final product going to be a written thing, a drawn thing, or you don't really know yet? If and when Heavens proxies becomes a real thing, it would be a book. It would not be. There is no way with a world with characters like that I could make that an animation series or a comic series, because there's just so much detail to it. It would be a book series, hands down. And it would not be one that I would be making anytime soon. Do you like Katzune? I've never watched any of her videos. Can you do this hat? Yeah, that looks about right. Do these flowers. Well, thank you, Muzi, creatively. I love this girl's face shape. I mean, hey, I know you've heard about sunken in cheeks, but have you heard of literally none? Yeah, I wanted to pick some characters that had some more stuff to work with. Because I mean, I don't mind drawing like you know, your typical anime character or whatever, but sometimes it can get a little bit boring after a while. To just do a lot of like characters that look kind of the same. So I like having characters where from the very start their reference shows that they have some pretty exaggerated faces and stuff like that. Because it makes me, especially when I'm drawing other people's characters, because with mine, I can kind of do whatever I want. So, but when I'm drawing other people's, I don't want to take things way too over the top, or it might not be what they actually want it to look like, so, Getting real focused on these flowers. Any tips for beginners on how to avoid same face syndrome? I would just say make sure you're always like looking at other faces and just trying out other faces and stuff like that. If you usually draw things one way, try doing it another way. Try looking at the reference of somebody's face and stylizing that face and then another face and whatever. I mean, typically the general idea is try and use different shapes when you're drawing, which I don't think is bad advice at all. I just think that only works so far for some people before they are like, okay, well, now I've tried to do this, but I'm confused. Do you believe in artist block? I think that happens to anyone. Like, anytime you're doing any kind of creative endeavor, sometimes you get burnt out. I usually like the term burnt out a little bit more because I feel like it's a bit more accurate to the explanation, but I do believe in artist block. I think it's the same sort of feeling artists can get in terms of like writer's block. People say that all the time, so I mean, it's a little weird to me when there are people who are, it's like, they'll say writer's block, but they don't believe in artist's block, like as if they're different things. I don't know. But I do believe in it. I think some people, I will be honest, I think there are some people who kind of use it a bit more like an excuse, and who sort of fall back onto it like in a kind of a excuse, like, I can't draw today, I got artist block, whatever. And I don't think that, like, I think it's kind of people who use it as an excuse kind of misconstrue what it's supposed to mean. Because typically having artist's block, it doesn't mean that you can't draw. It means just that you're like, your inspiration deep down is just not feeling it, You're kind of at a wall, similar to writer's block, where it's just like, for some reason, things are just not coming to you. And, but the only way to really get out of that is not to just sit and not do anything. It's to just kind of like, either look for inspiration elsewhere, try something different. If you just sit there and don't draw, you might not actually get out of it. It might actually kind of make it a little bit worse because then you're going to sit down and draw. You're not like warmed up, you're not ready to go, you know, and so suddenly you get discouraged and you start thinking that you still have artist block when you don't. You just haven't drawn in a while. You know, it's kind of, it can be a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy if you're not like, if you let artist's block become an excuse for you, you know. Uh, what's your favorite Procreate brush? I mean, I like my technical pencil, and I do like my hard airbrush when I shade with stuff and things. um, yeah. I do also like, I will say, oh, excuse me. I do like this groovy brush because it is magical when you're trying to do fire effects. Because for some reason it works really well for doing fire. I want to start writing. Do it. Have fun with it. Writing is fun. Sometimes. Sorry, I'm real focused right for the second. Do you like 21 Pilots or Panic at the Disco? I mean, sure, I like them. I don't know. I don't really have any strong opinions. There's a lot of my music taste is pretty all over the place, so there's probably not a lot of bands you're gonna hear me go like, oh yeah, that's the bomb right there. I don't think there's even any bands where I'm like, I like all of their songs. I dislike none of them. Do you play video games? If so, which ones? I kind of do. I'm not really all that hardcore of a gamer. I play like some Sims on occasion. I play some Civ 5 on occasion. There's some like random app idle games I play, but there's not like a whole lot of really deep games that I really get into a lot of the time. I do like some of the like some app games like The Room's a really good game series and all that stuff. So I do sometimes, just not a whole lot. Where did you start to post your art? I originally started posting it on DeviantArt. That was my first place. It's where it all began. Do you have any bands you recommend? Not really off the top of my head. Again, I'm not really in deep music person. I like some music and whatever. I don't I'm not like I don't go to concerts and stuff like that. It's just not really my thing. Is there anything you'd want to recommend for people who want to start digital art? My biggest recommendation would just be do not ever get the most expensive tablet or the most expensive program to start out with. Because if you're not sure if you're going to like digital art or not, you should not start with the most expensive. You know, if you don't like it with the cheap stuff, you're not going to, like, it's not going to improve just because you got something expensive, you know? So there's plenty of decent stuff out there that's cheap and in a budget. Like don't buy super expensive tablets and programs to start off because you don't like it's not worth it, especially if you don't end up liking it and suddenly you've wasted your money on like Photoshop and a big expensive Cintiq and stuff like that. Focused. Real focused. go ahead and do her face on a separate layer, because I'm going to need to do some erasing and stuff. What was the first tablet you bought? A really, really small, like Kiwan bamboo tablet kind of thing. It was just really small, flat surface. Didn't have an actual like screen on it or anything like that. You know, like as small as like a mini iPad, you know. It was the first tablet my dad got for me, and that's where it all started. It was that tablet and like DA Miro. My origin story. And I'm gonna be real, DA Miro is probably a shittier program than MS Paint. I have no idea how I was able to get like decent drawings out of that program when I was young and naive and before I had Photoshop. You remember the very first OC you ever made? Yep, I do. They were redesigned too for my my big fantasy story or whatever. The first character I ever made was a character named Star. She was originally a character I would like self-insert into every single show I watched, every book I read, every movie I saw. And then I gave her her own story, which was a train wreck of a story. And then years and years later, I decided I was going to rework her into something decent as well as the rest of her story. And that's why the Heaven Proxies exist, is that's the totally revamped, redone version of that old story that was really shitty. Because I don't like giving up on projects, because I'm weird. I think for her, I'm probably going to go ahead and end up erasing more of her face than I usually do, just because I think there's so much in under her hair that it might be better to just let some of it stay covered up rather than see through. Otherwise, that's a lot of lines that are going to look really confusing. Hey, how do you draw hands? A lot of references and a long time of practice and tutorials of many kinds.